How do you fix these guys? What are you guys doing, Wake Up Warrior?
Everything starts with the truth. What are the facts about your life? What are the stories that you're telling yourself that have made that possible? What did you do? What was your focus to produce that fruit? And it's establishing truth of where they are. Most guys don't have a bearing of where they are. They don't even know who they are.
What do you think you need to change to get to where that impossible target is?
Garrett J. White is a prominent entrepreneur, author, and speaker known for his work in personal development and coaching. He is the founder of the Wake Up Warrior movement, which aims to empower men to live authentically and purposefully.
I've got Garrett White. What's up, man?
What's up, bro? So
Good to
listen,
see
we're
you.
going to add a J to my name. Garrett J. White. You don't know why?
Why?
Garrett White was my banking name.
Okay.
And then after I lost everything in banking, here in Vegas, in 7 heading into 8, my office is in Vegas, my office is in Salt Lake. I went through my transition years of trying to figure out who the fuck I was. And in that time period, added the J.
Okay.
When I came out of my wilderness experience, added the J. So now Garrett J. White, which is interesting because now my wife introduced herself as Danielle K. White. My son introduced himself. All my kids introduced themselves with a middle initial.
Really?
Yeah. And if you do it, most people feel very awkward doing this. But where did I get it? T. Harv Eker. The Harv Eker. Did you know that's what T stands for?
No.
I talked to Harv about this like years ago. I was like, what is the T? He's like, the. He's like, I added T because I am the original Harv Eker. So T. Harv Eker. I was like, shut up. He's like, seriously. So I was inspired by his T. So I added my J, which my middle name is James.
I thought you were going to say it had nothing to do with your middle name.
Not, just like jumping excited. No, it is literally my middle initial. So now it's Garrett J. White.
There we go.
Now we're going to start it back off right. We're good. Garrett J. White in the house.
Garrett J. White in the house.
Yes.
Put some respect on his name.
Exactly. No respect for Garrett White.
Yep.
He didn't know what the hell he was doing with life.
Hey, let's talk about that, right? Identity. I feel like a lot of what you do is helping men and their identity.
Big time.
So
Big time.
Where did this come from?
Well, if you look at the baseline of how you and I as men, any of us operate, we operate from a story. Everything we create is off of stories. The way you parent is based on stories. The way that you have sex and intimacy in your marriage is based on stories that you tell yourself. What you think is acceptable to make money or not make money, or what you can do to make money, or whatever the game, everything we live in our own little world is driven by a story. You and I play different stories in most of the world. You have different stories about your life than I do. Mm-hmm. We have a story about tattoos. I think tattoos are my spiritual story. And you're like, I don't put bumper stickers on a Lamborghini.
I color my hair instead.
Exactly. But again, the only difference is that in our brains, we have a story that we tell ourselves that we believe. I believe that tattoos are art. Mm-hmm. You're like, tattoos are not really my art.
Yeah.
I color my hair. I'm like, tattoos are my art. It's a spiritual journey for me. What's the difference? A story. That's it. And these stories now have my body covered in tattoos and your body not covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
So as a man tries to identify how he creates, everything comes down to identifying that if you want to change the circumstances of your life, if you want things to transform and change, you have to identify the stories that you're currently telling that create the container for the life that you're in. And once you identify what those stories are, you can rewrite the stories. This is transformation. Now, the only way to permanently rewrite the story, in my experience, is to access the power of God. Transformation in my world is only possible through God. And that God's power transforms a man or renews his mind, but it requires access to that through truth. So you can't find the story if you're a fucking liar. Because you just lie to yourself. You lie about what you want, you lie about where you are, you lie about where you're going. And most guys' identity is wrapped up in confusion. They're confused. Most men are confused right now about who to be and how to be. Even in Christianity, men are confused. I watch powerful, aggressive men step into Christianity and become soft, sedated, sanitized pussies. And I'm like, what happened to you? What happened to you? Who told you to be happy clappy like this bullshit I'm seeing you do right now? What good are you doing anybody? You just became a khaki pant, plaid shirt pussy who's not going to do anything. The fuck is wrong with you? And on the flip side, this guy's confused because he's trapped. He came from a world that the Christian world says is wrong and bad. Then he stepped into what he tried to be, happy clappy. All my special forces guys are like this. I'm like, who cut the balls off the bowl here? You are a hired killer. You were trained to murder and have 57 kills. Who is this man in my training room right now who has no confidence and no certainty and no power in himself. Why? Because you allowed a bunch of dudes that don't know combat, don't know violence, don't understand darkness, have never once stepped into the realm of fear and doubt and worry that you step into, whose worst crime in life is they drank a beer and looked at porn and jerked off when they were 17, tell you how it is. Their story is dominating your reality. So unless you can come to God about what the true story is for you, not your pastor's story, not your priest's story, not your bishop's story, not your wife's story, not the government's story, not your friend's story, not your parents' story, what's God's story about you? What is he calling you to be? What did he build you to be? Why are you ashamed of what he built you to be? Not all men are built the same. We have soft dudes that rock keyboards, play Call of Duty, and that's their role. Good for them. And then you got hard dudes who do different things. They're not better or worse, they're just different. Soft dudes, playing the keyboard game, that guy can fucking hack things and destroy an entire city nowadays. And then you got other dude over here who could actually bring violence. This dude's running the minute there's any problems. If he can't handle with a keyboard and a text message, we're in trouble. The challenge is that man's wife doesn't feel safe. That man's not protecting. They go out in public, his wife's scared because he can't bring any violence to anyone. On the flip side of this, you have dudes that are just in straight violence all the time. They're not worth. I'm not tech savvy. What are you talking about? So there's some kind of a crossover. Guys are trying to figure out who they are at all.
Yeah.
Women are confused because most women are more manly than most guys. Particularly over 40, divorced or single, producing women. They're everywhere. They come to my office all the time. Had a whole room of them last week. All beautiful, stunning, powerful, all in relationships with purse boys. Dang. Weak men. Because they don't know how to show up because these women are getting more aggressive than the guys are.
Yeah.
And guys are getting less aggressive. I'm like, and then you got all kinds of confusing messages everywhere. You got confusing messages from the church. You're supposed to be reverent and meek and soft and kind. And then you've got this other message from like Andrew Tate and everyone else. You should just like do this. And like Wes Watson and everybody's yelling. And it's like, what is a kid to do?
Yeah.
As adults, it's confusing enough, but our teenagers are in big trouble.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone even listening to this right now, they're probably listening to you right now like, holy moly, like what does this guy believe? Like, you know, on one hand, he's saying follow God. The other hand, he's cussing. On the other hand, he's saying the church isn't right. And I mean, we're going to dive deep into all those different things. Perfect. But I think that, you know, confusion is definitely an issue right now.
Big time.
And I think that I've said this before, but, you know, I've had a lot of these, and I don't know this is the best way to put it, but I just call them like the alpha male crew.
Yeah.
And most of them aren't Christian.
Yeah.
Most of them are, you know, single dudes trying to, you know, whatever, just have as many girls as they want and live that life and do their thing. You're an interesting breed because you are married.
Yep.
You've recently come to faith in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
You're leading men.
Yep.
You have this ideology that I would say is this hybrid of both worlds, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you understand masculinity and why men need to do things they need to do, but you also understand faith. You also understand, you know, like you have a purpose to help certain groups of men.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious for everyone listening, before we even go deeper in the conversation, like where, for you and your faith journey and your ideology, like where do you fall at?
Christ is my Savior.
Yep.
He is my Lord. He is my King. Very simple. I'm saved. Now, the next step is the question. Because as impressive as it is on a Sunday to sit in a church and watch a pastor at the very end give an altar call and call people to Christ, and then watch the shenanigan counting circus begin. We got 1, we got 2, we got 4, we got 12, we got 17, we got 23 people saved. Hallelujah. And everybody's raising their hand and praising the Lord. Every single one of those fucking guys leaves that room and goes right back to the shithole called their life. money problems, sexless marriages, struggling with kids, competing with TikTok and Instagram, trying to raise their children, trying to figure out how to navigate the confusion of politics and government policy, and there's no one to guide them. And the answers they get are repetitive scriptures from pastors who don't know their world. They're not entrepreneurs. That's why Dr. Matt Hubbard, who's one of my pastors at Awaken Church, that's why I lean into him heavy. Why? He's a real estate investor, he's an entrepreneur, he's a chiropractor, and he's a pastor. My big first hangout with that group, cigar rolling and whiskey night. 200 guys on his property. They're speaking over me in tongues. I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on right now. It's fucking weird. But like, I'm in it, so let's go. We got cigars in hand. We're rolling. We're drinking whiskey. They're speaking in the tongues. I'm like, and they're like, you could speak in the tongues. I was like, I don't think I'm ready to speak in the tongues. This is too much.
I like the whiskey and cigars,
I'll stick with the whiskey and cigars. You guys do the tongues. Put your hands on me. Do the thing. I like it. I feel it. I'm feeling your vibe. I don't know if I'm ready to do it, though. They're like, just let it out. I was like, I feel like I'm faking it. I don't feel like it's real. I feel like I'm making some words up. Well, that's how it is. God's going to talk through you. I was like, I don't know if I believe that yet, but we'll find out. Then I have my other pastor Mark Francie from Oceans Church.
I've talked to him.
And Mark Francie is like amazing. I love Pastor Mark. But Pastor Mark and I have a different relationship because he comes to my house all the time and he's been very patient with the fact that the thing he told me at the beginning, he said, we're going to have to empty you out. God's going to empty you out and then refill you back up. And I was like, okay. I was like, but here's what I need you to understand. I'm not just going to accept anything you say is true.
Yeah.
Because you're a man, you masturbate, you've looked at porn, you have sexual desires, you have issues and stress and anger. You're not always happy, clappy pastor, even though that's what you put on there, potato gun guy. That's Russell. And I'm like, Russell has a dark side too. Everyone has it. You have a dark side. My pastor has a dark side. Why? Because we're human.
We have sin.
We have sin. We have a dark side of life. That's part of being human. It's not like a problem. It's what we are. So in that environment, though, in these places, the challenge that I have, even at Ocean Church, is it's just, Pastor Mark is a fireball. I love him. I think he's great.
Yeah.
He is amazing. Love that man. So critical to my journey in my life and my family's.
Yeah.
So critical. And I can barely stand to sit in church. Not because of Pastor Mark. I just can't handle this low vibration, entertain me, do the work for me, let me get some donuts and coffee and drop my kids off at childcare, not pick up chairs, not tithe, not make any offerings, just show up and use the system, which is 80% of the people in any church I've ever seen.
Well, you know that I think the statistic is 93% of the church does not tithe.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
But
it's completely pathetic. I'm sitting there, I'm one of the top producers in the whole church, and I'm over here racking chairs at the end of it. I'm like, why is nobody helping right now? We should be picking all the chairs up right now. Why is nobody helping? Everybody's walking out, grabbing their donuts and coffee, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So my wife leaned over one day and she said, listen, I'm not against all these people, but we're past these people. Like, we're not having this conversation. Like, I'm not going to keep having the surface level. It's like I can't go to my own men's groups. It's so fucking plastic. I don't care. I hosted it at my house. It was the last time I hosted my house. Not because I don't love Pastor Mark. I got 4 of my guys from Wake Up Warrior that were there that'll go to Ocean Church. And we're all sitting in the room. We got 35 guys that come to the house. And I'm sitting because I don't really know how it works. I'm like, okay, yeah, we use my house. Let's do the thing. And we get done and I'm like, so all we do is we hear you give a sermon? I could listen to that on a podcast.
yeah.
You mean we get together every week so we could hear you give us a sermon? And then we sit and drink coffee and talk about nothing? Is that how it works? And then one dude attempted to be honest. And all the guys were like, it's okay, it's okay. I come from a world of breaking men. Darkest shit you've ever heard in your life. I've heard it all.
Yeah.
I've heard truth at the level of truth where God has shown up and transformed men's lives before my face. I've been a pastor of a church for 12 years of 65,000 men. Like, I've lived this life. That's why I told my pastor, I was like, I've lived the pastor life. You're ministering and doing what you're doing. I live the pastor life. I've dealt with men's darkness. I engage. God has used me as a weapon, even before I knew it was Christ. I knew it was a voice. Like, okay, well, what does this mean? The church is called to do what the church is going to do. I'm not the church, and I'm not a pastor. I support the pastors. I think they're great. They're not going to get it done, though. They can't get it done. If the church could have got it done, they'd already done it. They've had hundreds of years to try to pull it off. They still haven't made a dent. The men that I lead right now in our Bible study, at Words for Christ, 1,500 men. None of these guys want to go to regular church. None of these guys want regular church conversation. They don't want regular Bible study. They don't want to hear somebody who's smart. That's the problem. The entire church culture is we get one smart person that stands in front of 25 dudes. Smart person talks. Everybody goes, yeah, that's great. And they never understand how to actually commune with God themselves. They're always waiting for somebody else's interpretation of scripture. They're always hoping the next magic orator pastor that I can go worship and praise and buy his books on the church circuit is somehow going to save them.
Yeah.
And they're not. And I see the carnage of it in my programs, in my world, with the guys that tell the truth, not plastic happy clappy Bible study groups or the happy clappy men's groups that don't actually support each other. They surface level support each other. Now, I'm very open to the fact that I've not experienced some of the awesome ones.
Yeah.
So that can only go off of my experience.
Right.
So I have not been to all of them, obviously. And I am sure there's a lot of fucking great ones that are amazing. The interesting part is I keep getting invited. I got invited to DC. I got invited to a whole bunch of big name businessmen, Christian men, outside the box groups who have come to me.
Yeah.
And said, we want you part of this group. You're a voice that we need. Why? Why I need this? Because you're not in the box. It's like, I know.
Yeah.
That's how God built me.
Yeah. So I got a few things I'll say about, commentary on what you've said, and just for anyone listening who is maybe offended or they're just like, dude, this guy, he doesn't understand X, Y, Z. Okay. So I think a couple of things. One, I've said this before, but as Christians, we have one job that Jesus told us to go do before he left. He said, hey, go make disciples of all nations, baptizing everyone in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And with that, that becomes, hey, well, what's our mission field? Where are we going to go make disciples? And I've always said for the entrepreneurs and business people, that's right there, right inside of our office, at our clients, the people we interact with on a daily basis, because Jesus also says that it's harder for the rich person to get into heaven than it is for the camel to go through the eye of the needle. And to your point, pastors aren't necessarily reaching these rich, powerful businessmen, or these snipers and these killers and, the people that you are talking about reaching right now, because they're just not stepping foot in a church. And I've seen the same thing. I've seen that it's very difficult. And that's why I'm also going to be curious to hear like your conversion story, because it's very difficult for rich, successful people who are leading all these other people to realize they need a savior and that they need help, and to have the humbleness to understand that. And I just think that everybody is in a position to help a certain group of people. I think that you are helping people that aren't going to be receptive to the way that I would speak, the way that Mark would speak, the way that Stephen Furtick would speak, or whoever the case is. But you're equipped to speak to them because you understand them. You speak their lingo. You know what they're going through. You have track record and reputation to be able to have authority in their life. Yeah. And, I had Pastor Mark Driscoll on here, who's also a very controversial figure in the Christian world. And he said a similar thing to me of that, hey, you know what, dude? You are a pastor. He was telling me this to me. Yeah. He's like, you are leading a set of people. And he's like, I believe that there's going to be, this whole new way of doing church. And what you're describing is the same thing. Now, that being said, what I think it's important for people to know, especially when it comes to faith, because I grew up in the church. I've been a believer as long as I can remember, and my own journey has been very, what we would call the sanctification process. It's just like, as I get older, the more I realize what I believed 5 years ago isn't the truth today. And so I think it's important for people to know, like, I know a lot of what you believed 2 years ago, 3 years ago isn't what you believe today. And, I think in 3 years, a lot of the things you believe today won't be true either.
For sure.
And I think it's important for all of us to get around those Bible studies that you're talking about where they are doing it right. Because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of, I would say, the meek, for me, meekness is power under control. It's not weak. It's just, hey, I've got power. I just use it when I want. You know what I'm saying? And like
the challenge with that, though, is it's been defined by a certain way of appearing.
Oh, for sure.
For example, there's plenty of people who say, I am not meek.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just because you can't bring heat like I can, doesn't mean I'm not meek. You think I'm not under control.
Yeah.
If I'm carrying a Gatling gun and you're carrying a 9mm handgun, when I shoot one shot, mine's going to come across a little more intense than yours. But it doesn't mean I'm any less meek. If I wasn't meek, I'd blow the whole fucking building down.
Yeah.
So there's a challenge in the church world with defining humility and meekness, because it's always defined by soft-spoken pastors.
Yeah.
It's not defined by men of industry. It's not defined by men who build and create.
Yeah.
And these are the same men that fund the church.
Yeah.
They are the ones. I know. I am part of that group. This is why Pastor Mark works so well at Oceans, because he elevates entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
He elevates the kings.
Yeah.
He does it completely. That's why the church grew so fast. And it's why it has so many powerful people travel from LA and San Diego to come to his church. Powerful producers. It's why people I refer love his church, because it's not a church of poverty. It's not a church of we're going to downplay money.
Yeah.
It's not even a story of the wealthy man can't get into heaven, camel through the eye of a needle story, which I've heard that so many times and I get it, but it's taken so out of context by such weak people who don't know anything about the pressure of creating an industry. None of it. Like even a pastor that runs a church faces pressure, but he has a board, he has investors, and he has a salary. He's an employee of his own church. He's not an entrepreneur. He doesn't know the pressure. He has different pressure.
I would argue that once they've made it, but that's not the case when you start a church. They're entrepreneurs in the same way we are.
For sure.
They don't have investors. They don't have...
they do have investors. They're begging for it every Sunday.
Well, no, but I'm saying like, it's not like they got all this money to go... Like most churches start in a home, in a school.
Sure.
Small, just like we started small business. And then eventually it becomes this thing that we're talking about. But I would argue most church planters are very similar mindset to us.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the challenge I have is this. The minute you slap Jesus on your business,
yeah,
so you can get money, and there's entrepreneurs that do this.
Yeah.
I know dudes that sucked at selling anything. And then they became faith-based coaches. Now they could slap the Jesus on there, just like a church slaps the Jesus on there, and now I can ask for offerings. I sit in offerings with my kids, and I'll be like, hey, this is called the preset and the pre-frame. What do you mean? This worship music is to warm everybody up. Get ready. The pitch is about to come. Then the offerings will come. Now we'll talk about tithing and offerings, which I have no problem. I give like crazy. But I'm teaching my kids, this is a sales pitch. This is a 1-hour sales pitch. It's exactly what it is. Period. And if they don't get money, they don't get the building, they can't fund the chairs, they can't build this thing, it's a business. If the church does not run itself correctly, it cannot fund the project. It's a business. So at some level, they are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They have to think that way. Otherwise, they can't be successful.
Yeah.
Because it is marketing, and it is sales, and it is closing. Offering is closing.
Yeah. A nonprofit is a technical business.
I know. Isn't it crazy?
Like literally the definition the government gives it is a nonprofit business. And so like I have Wealthy Kingdom. It is a nonprofit business. Like we have to figure out how to bring in money in order to run the thing. Yeah. There's employees, there's staff, there's events, there's other things. Like you have to think that way.
I don't think people, so many people don't understand that.
Yeah.
They don't, they say nonprofit, but yeah, but where does the profit come from for the nonprofit?
Where do you get the money?
Where do we get the money to not make any money?
I tell that to people all the time when they're starting a business. Like they don't want to start it for purpose and all these things. And I'm like, that's great. If purpose can be a part of your business, amazing. But a business's core function is to make money. Nobody's running a business if it does not make money. It won't be a business.
No.
And I go, but if you want to do something that doesn't make money, that's called either a nonprofit business or a hobby. So you could choose to do those.
Yeah.
But if you're going to, do this other thing, you want to go be a coach, you want to go flip real estate, I don't care if you really like it or not. Like, your core focus is to make money.
Yes. I've had a lot of pastors come to me in the last year, they have several thousand people in their congregation, and they're struggling because they want to create more wealth.
Yeah.
And they're pigeonholed into a salary.
I get a lot of pastors who join our stuff to flip houses and invest in real estate.
Yeah, same thing. We're watching on our side too. Is we're watching a lot of pastors come into my training programs to become certified trainers of warrior.
Yeah,
and I started calling them the for-profit prophets.
The for-profit prophets.
I was like, you be a nonprofit prophet, aka be a pastor for hire, or you can just flip the script and be a coach that speaks of Christ.
Yeah,
and brings men. I have more men reading the Bible now. In the last 4 months since I launched Warriors for Christ, I have men who have not read, not one or two, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of powerful men who have not picked up the Bible once in 20 years, that have read the Bible more in the last 60 days. They're reading it every single day for an hour while Bible stacking and prayer stacking using our tools. These are men that don't have time to waste.
Yeah.
And we're getting this input of feedback. Now, Warriors for Christ is free. God's very clear. He's like, you're not going to charge anything for that. But my other programs and all my other, we did the same thing. I require Bible stacking across all of my training programs. We pray at the end of every single one of our training programs. We pray to start it. We play worship music before they get there. We talk about God. I speak about Christ. I quote the Bible through everything we're doing. We reference it back to marketing and sales. That's why we partnered with the Business Bible and Nick Leonis, who created that version of the Bible. All of this inside of a coaching business.
Now, that's what you're doing now.
Yeah.
But you weren't doing that for a long, long time.
I was speaking of the voice, but we weren't using the Bible.
Yeah. So tell me how did your conversion happen?
Vikings.
The Vikings.
The series on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah. My wife was pregnant with our last daughter, and I was with 5 kids.
How long ago was this?
This would have been 3 years ago.
Okay.
And we'd moved into our home that we're in now. Bought this amazing $20 million home on a beach in Orange County, and had this 3rd floor outside my daughter's bedroom, but she was gone for like a month. And my wife was pregnant, go to bed early, and I was like, get her to bed. And I wasn't tired. She went to bed like 7:30. I'm like, I'm not tired. So I would take an iPad and I never watched TV ever. I never watched a TV series. I watch your content, or I'll watch a webinar, or I'll read a book, or I'll study some stuff, or I'll write copy. I'll decide I hate watching TV.
Okay.
Or Netflix at all. So this was out of the ordinary for me, but I felt kind of compelled. Somebody had mentioned it, then another person mentioned the series, and I was like, I just kind of feeling it. So every night I'd go up and smoke a cigar, and watch one episode of Vikings.
Okay.
I'm on season 1. I watched first night, cool. Second night, cool. 8th or 9th episode. Ragnar Lothbrok is the pagan Viking king of the Vikings, and he's the one leading all the sieges and the takeovers and the acquisitions, and he ends up kidnapping this Christian monk who becomes his right-hand guy, his assistant slave, and he's talking about Christ all the time. And then Ragnar Lothbrok gets baptized a Christian in Vikings, and they move him down, which he's the pagan king.
Yeah.
And he's now being baptized a Christian. And I'm watching this, and it happens, and I'm like, I just feel this move inside of me. Just what? I don't know what I'm feeling right now. I paused it, stood up, looked out the balcony, out the ocean, kept smoking my cigar, and I was like, no. Tell me no. No. No, I'm not doing it. No, fuck the church people. I want nothing to do with the church people. They're all pussies. I want nothing to do with it. And the next morning, I get a text from my lead trainer at Wake Up Warrior. Sam Philosophy, who's a Muslim, became a Christian. And his conversion was hilarious because he tattooed Jesus reaching in to grab Peter out of the water on his back.
Yeah.
But he thought that was a picture of himself reaching in and helping men at Wake Up Warrior. only to find out that it was Christ on his back, his whole back tattoo. Like, and we had a guy, Forrest Walden, who runs EX3 and runs Iron Tribe Fitness in Birmingham, Alabama. Straight Bible Belt dude. Very, very Christian, very in the box. And he had kind of collided with Sam for years and with me. And I was like, Forrest, keep your Jesus talk out of here, buddy. You can do your Jesus talk all you want. I was like, I'm not playing that game with you. So Sam texted me the next morning. He said, hey, God told me I was supposed to baptize you. I was like, come on, dude. He didn't know I was watching Vikings. I hadn't said anything to him. So my first response was like, go fuck yourself. You're not baptizing me. And then like 5 seconds later, I was like, okay, you're baptizing me. And that started down this path. Baptism, I did everything backwards. I joke around like it was all backwards. So like I got baptized, but I was like still like in so many questions about things.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the baptism at the church. I'd started going to Oceans around the same time. My daughter got baptized in the parking lot pool. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that parking lot pool baptism stuff. I'm not having 2 random people I don't know quickly say a prayer and dunk me in a pool. This is stupid. I'm not doing it.
So clearly before all this, you had all these things already in motion.
Things were kind of happening.
Yeah.
But I was still just, it was like supporting my daughter. That's it. My daughter wanted to go to church because of the school she was going to. She had friends who went to close to the church. So I was like, hey, this is positive for you. You're young, you're a teenager, you're having problems, you want to go to church. I'm all about supporting you. So I'll come with you.
Yeah.
That's why I met Pastor Mark and I was like, this guy's got some fire.
Yeah.
Next week I was like, still has it. No. Third week I was like, holy shit, this dude might actually have God inside of him. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow, I like you a lot. This one, the church was small. It's like 500 people. And it was during COVID. Nobody's wearing masks.
You're like, I like this.
I like this. I was like, I like
in
this
California.
guy in California. And he's just like, fuck you guys. And that led on a path of just a very intense 2 years of questioning and challenging and refusing and resisting and surrendering and letting go.
Do you think it was pride, ego? Like what?
Of course. It was all of it. And it was like, I don't do shit because you tell me to.
Yeah.
I don't do shit because I don't want to be a believer.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a believer. I want to be a knower. Believers are weak. Believers hope all the time. I want to know things. I want to know God is who he says he is. I want to know Christ is who he said he was. I don't want to stand up, get baptized in a pool in a parking lot, in front of everybody, raise my hand and put on a t-shirt and tell everyone I believe in Jesus. Because those people get swept away. The minute shit gets hard, the minute shit gets hot, tight, money gets tight, government comes after you, something happens, these people collapse. Like house of cards in a hurricane, gone. Knowers. These were the apostles. They knew shit. Why? They would die for it. I'm a die for it guy. I'm also a live for it guy, which means I wasn't going to accept any of it. Like fear of the Lord. I hated that topic. I hated when people say fear of the Lord. I was like, shut up. God's not a God of fear. What are you talking about? He even said that. What are you talking about? Pastor Mark is like patient. He's like, hey, I want you to read this book. Think about these things. I'm like, no. And he'd come to the house every week. I'm like, it's bullshit, Pastor Mark. I don't believe it. He's like, well, maybe consider this. And I was like, okay. And so I went and I had my moments. I had my fear of God moment in Cabo. I was sitting out on the deck, smoking a cigar. I like to do that. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. My wife's in bed. Stars are out. There's no moon. There's just stars and dark sky. And for whatever reason, the magnitude of creation, the vastness of creation rested on my soul. And I heard this voice, God talking to me. He's like, I created all of it. You think you've created something? I created everything. And I'm the only one that created from nothing. Everything you've created came from something. I created from nothing. And I created everything. And everything you've created, you created because I allowed you to. And it was that point I could give it to him. I could see it for the first time. Not because I was in a sermon, not because I was at a pep rally worship ceremony, not because I was at a cool cheerleading parking lot baptism. I needed to know for myself. These are why I can make the pivots I make. Is why people are like, how are you so bold about Jesus? But you're also staying true to who yourself is. And God is authorizing me. This is so hard for people to understand. How can you say fuck and then say Jesus Christ? I don't like it. You should go ask God. You don't think I'm supposed to talk like that? Why don't you go ask him? Why don't you go ask him if I'm on path? If you're so close with your Father in heaven, go get your own confirmation. I'm on path. I'm doing what he's called me to do. I'm not here to be happy clappy. I'm built as a weapon of awakening to reach men who are unreachable, to reach men who will pivot the game in this country, men who will never hear a sermon. They will never hear a non-denominational speech. They will never step into a worship ceremony. They will never once pick up a Bible because some pastor on television told them to. But when I walk in the room, they hear God through me. This is so hard for people to understand, yet if it is so hard to understand, then why do we have so many religions and denominations of churches? Mormons, Catholics, Protestants, Methodists, Southern Baptists, Evangelicals, Pentecostals, Mormon Christians, New Age, non-denominational. Now I disagree with your version of the Bible, so I'm going to start another non-denominational. Why can Christians not get along? Question returned to you, Mr. Christian, your whole life. Why are they like Mongolian? They're like Mongols, warring with each other. Do you know who I take the most heat from?
Christians.
Christians.
Yeah.
Weak Christians.
We just talked about this in Bible study today.
Drives me insane.
So,
why is it? Why can they not get along?
Well, I think that, what we talked about in Bible study today was when David went to fight Goliath. So I'm sure you're a huge fan of David, right? David's a warrior.
David's stud.
Right? That's probably your favorite guy in the Bible.
Yep,
besides Jesus, right?
David's awesome.
And, when David goes to battle against Goliath, he shows up and his brothers are there in battle, too scared to fight Goliath. And they're like, bro, why are you even here? You're supposed to be with the sheep. You come here out of your own pride, your arrogance. Why are you even here? And David's like, I'm not here because of that. I came to literally bring you food. That's why he came to battle. His dad gave him all these food and supplies to bring to his brothers and all the troops and everything. And he's like, I came here for you guys, and now you're getting on me. And so I can see the parallels of how you feel for the normal church world and how they maybe perceive you, because it's the very same thing. His own brothers were attacking him and his intentions. And we all knew that David had a heart for God. And even though David screwed up a whole bunch throughout his life, he always repented. He always pursued God despite it. What I think happens, there's a lot to unpack, as you said a lot of things, but one thing I want to point out with your conversion story that's interesting is I believe it was all of maybe let's just call them the soft things that played a part in your story to conversion, right? It's not like the one moment of doing something soft led to it, but clearly they all played a role, and it was just all part of this inevitable conclusion of like, dude, this is real. I've seen enough from my daughter, Pastor Mark. They're all being patient with me, even though I have all these doubts and everything else. And like, they accept me, even though others have never accepted me before. Yep. And so I think that the normal Christian type things played a role, and they got you to where you needed to go. Right. So I want to say that what I actually believe, and this is me just speaking, whether we agree or not, I believe you're a catalyst and you're a fire starter. I believe that you are going to help a lot of these people who are at the very forefront of their journey, who are lost. They don't have answers. They don't know what to do. They are never going to step foot in a church, like you said, and you're lighting a fire underneath these guys and getting them to experience the Bible for the very first time, to show that, dude, you don't have to be a weak Christian. That's not how God called us to be, and I 100% agree with that. What I think will happen is there will begin with you starting the fire, and then I think they will end up becoming refined through other ways. Sure. I think Pastor Mark and other guys who have different messages for them are going to refine them. in the same way that I've been refined by many different pastors and people and brothers and everything else. And I see you as like, in the Christian world, you're an evangelist. I would call you more of an evangelist than a pastor. An evangelist is somebody who just starts at that very beginning of the journey, like, bro, we got to get you going for Christ. And I would say I'm very similar too, in that I want to throw events, I want to get business people fired up, I want to light them on fire. Now, I do want to do everything I can to help them grow in their faith, and I want them to be sanctified, and I want them to grow more like Jesus. But, you know, it's hard. It's very hard. And that's, to your point, churches struggle with that. They struggle to help their congregation develop further. And so I still think that that is the missing link that you're describing.
And I have it. I have the missing link.
Yeah.
So I have it.
And it's Warriors for Christ and everything you guys are doing over there.
Warrior.
Wake Up Warrior.
I have more practical results coming out of my Bible study than any Bible study in the country. Put me against any Bible study. And I have more real-time results with my men coming out of a 2-hour Bible study than any Bible study you walk in, including yours this morning. They heard you come in, you told a good story, you talked about stuff. I wasn't there, which I wished I could have been in because I was excited to be here. Doesn't take any away from you.
Yeah.
The traditional model of Bible study is meant to be a spectator in the stands and have a few comments with nothing practical to my marriage, nothing practical to my kids. It doesn't change my physical fitness. It doesn't change how I operate in business. Nothing. It's meant to the man to translate. I go to a service on Sunday. The pastor shares a general message. Maybe he clues in a few ideas, but it's up to me to figure out how to apply that to myself. The problem is the church doesn't give any of that. So then they say small groups. Problem is small groups aren't even equipped to it because nobody's been trained to take the word into wisdom, into work. It's not a natural progression. We study the word. That's a great start. But what is wisdom? Wisdom is the ability for me to commune with God directly, to get revelation on what we studied with King David, how does that alter my behavior as a husband this week? How does King David's story have anything to do with how I'm going to deal with my teams this week? How does King David's story have anything to do with how I'm going to change my fitness this week? How does my relationship with King David and his story going to change how I interact with God this week? The difference, I had a guy from very, very devout Christian. He said, my plumb line is scripture. I said, that's great. My plumb line is fruit. Because the statement was not by their scripture memorized, you shall know them. It was by their fruit, son.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and keep your scriptures as your plumb line.
Yeah.
I'll continue to find fruit beyond the scriptures.
Right.
Scriptures to me are journals. These are the writings of men and their experience with God. They're true and they're powerful. And they were canonized by the Nicene Creed, put together, organized, pieces ripped out, pieces placed in. Was it all inspired? I don't know. I know a group of dudes got together and they were tired of Christians killing each other. And so they organized what we have as the current Bible today. Is it true? To me, it is. Are there parts missing? I think so. I don't know where they're at, but I know that there were pieces ripped out and told that were not relevant anymore. Where did they go? Where did Jesus go for 20 years? Where was he? Nobody can answer that question. He was gone for 20 years. You know how much work a person can do on themselves in 2 decades? Look how different you are 20 years later. I go back and look at myself 20 years ago at 39, 38 or 28 to who I am at 48. The amount of growth and learning and experience. Where was Jesus for 20 years learning and growing before he became actually named the Christ? He was Jesus of Nazareth, not Jesus the Christ. He became the Christ as a title. But even Christ questioned his calling. Even Christ questioned the methodology of his calling. Sitting in the garden, there has to be a different way to do this. This is too much. Father, this is a bitter cup you're asking me to drink right now. This is the Son of God, the Savior of mankind. I think as human beings, we're way too hard on ourselves. And Christianity has not helped. Christianity is blanketing people with guilt, shame, fear, all sourced evidence on Adam that cast him out of the presence of God. Those energies and those feelings threw him into the bush and covered himself with fig leaves and lies. Fear of God, literally running from God. Men are doing this all day around me, every day. Maybe men not like you. You're a unicorn. You know you're a unicorn. In a land of men, you sit at the top of the food chain of connected, powerful men who don't have faith, who know. You have faith too, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
You are not, you're the standard, but you're not reality. I face reality every day.
Yeah.
With thousands of men. And their reality is not your world.
Right.
And their reality is not my world.
Right.
So what reality are they living in? Dude, most entrepreneurs are completely fucked, bro. We want them to come to Christ. They can't even tell the truth. So what you read the Bible? You're a liar. What are you going to pick up when your filter is lies? Adam lied. He bought a lie. Eat this fruit and you'll become what you already are. First lie. Become like God. Know good from evil. Eat this fruit. You're like, bro, you were already perfect. You bought a lie that you had to go do something to become something you already were. And here we are as men later. Doing what? Trying to find the same thing? Most men, if you boil most men down until a man is having frequent, consistent sex and orgasms with his wife, and he can efficiently be in abundance with money, almost nothing matters. So you can preach at him all day long. That fucking guy is not listening to you. You can talk to him about Jesus. He'll even raise his hands and accept Christ. That man is not listening. If he is in sexless, deprived relationship, or he is struggling with money, it doesn't matter. There's only one purpose in that man's mind, and it's not worshiping God. It's survival.
Mm-hmm.
And a man's survival cannot hear the word of God.
Why do you think that?
I just know it. I watch it. I believe that the original purpose of God was to learn to create eternal prosperity from abundance. This was the plan. God creates Adam. God creates Eve. They're in perfect communion with God. And he gave them dominion and said, create. Name everything. Do whatever you want. No shame. Naked as hell. Just naked. Naked truth. Walking around. Wasn't weird. Adam might even had an erection occasionally just walking around. It wasn't even weird. Eve was like, that looks nice. I like that. He's like, I like your breasts. I'm going to name them breasts. I don't know what they're called, but those look nice. It's called, they kind of look like pears. I don't know why I want to suck on them, but I want to. Those are nice. Why? It's part of being normal. It wasn't weird to them. Sex wasn't weird. The church made sex weird. They completely have screwed up generations of people with fear, doubt, and worry around sex. They've done the same thing with money. Scared the shit out of people that being wealthy because of so many quotes. It's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. Yeah, what about all the broke, fat, obese people? How about them? How about the lazy fucks that don't do anything? See, it's always this reference. There's so much innuendo that's controlled humanity and controlled man. But you boil it down, if this guy is not sexually connected with his wife and he is not paying his bills, he is a desperate doormat. This man is not a weapon for God. This man's running around begging for manna to fall from the heavens. You can preach at this man all you want. This man is dead. Let the dead bury their dead. This man's going nowhere. Now, once he gets those things consistently, which is why wealthy way and everything you do matters. Once he gets those, well, now we can think about the real purpose of this life, which is to create from abundance. How do I create from abundance? It's the hardest thing in the world to create from desire when you don't need anything. Most people create from need. Most marriages are driven by need. Most men are needy as shit. That's why their wives are turned off. Most men are needy. But abundant, connected, powerful men, they have no needs. They're the most lethal weapons in the game for God. It's you.
You know, I think there's a lot to take there. for me, I think you brought it best back to a story and your testimony to this point and everything that you're doing. And I think that, as I look at men's life and my own experience and story, I've seen a lot of people come to Christ who were at rock bottom, right? They didn't have any of these things. And, I think that anyone can.
For sure.
And I don't think that you need to have things figured out in your life. I think that that's one of the biggest lies that Satan tells us, that, clean yourself up, get together, and then come to Jesus, come to church, and all those things.
Get in shape and then go to the gym.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And, I think that anyone listening here, they can come to Christ now.
For sure.
Rich, poor, fat,
for sure,
jacked,
for sure,
divorced, married.
For sure.
So, I don't want anyone to think that you have to come to this point of having everything, and then all of a sudden you're like, dang, I still feel a void. What's the deal?
Well, you're going to feel a void even if you're saved. If you're not getting laid and not getting paid.
I agree with that.
So I agree with you. Salvation as a gift, most people do find it when they're at the bottom.
Yeah. Because you're saying the other fulfillment areas of life.
Well, sanctification isn't going to happen if you can't deal with baseline needs.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This man's stuck in scarcity, fear, and poverty, dude. It's why you care so much about people making money.
Yeah.
Because you saw what happened to you and I saw what happened to me. I came from a trailer in Stockton. My whole family, most of my family is obese, diabetic, and broke.
I played a minor league season in Stockton.
Did you?
Yeah, for the Ports.
No?
Yeah. So I lived in Stockton for a year.
Oh, you get it, dude. You get it.
I got robbed twice.
I got beat up every other day. I got in fights every other day. I went to Pacific High School.
Now it makes a lot more sense. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Now I know where this guy's coming from.
Now I know why you.
Oh,
you
dude, I grew up just fighting. You're like, why is he so angry all the time? Well, I was scared every day.
I grew up in
I was
the most dangerous city of America.
Dude, it was bad. Like, we would get in fights probably every other day. The funniest fight that ever happened, though, I was in the 7th grade, 8th grade, 7th grade, 7th grade.
Yeah.
And I got in a fight with a dude in the 8th grade the day before. This black dude. I beat the shit out of him out on the parking lot. But the problem is, you never win in Stockton. It doesn't matter who you are, because they're just going to brothers or cousins or friends. Yep. Somebody's coming tomorrow.
Yep.
You just know that's the case. So you never win. Nobody ever wins until somebody gets shot or killed. So I was like, all right. Next day, I knew they were coming from the high school, which was right across the street. His brothers were going to come kick the fuck out of me. Like, I knew it was going to happen. So I'm terrified all afternoon. I'm terrified. I'm like, call my mom. We don't have cell phones, nothing like that, obviously, at that time. I'm like trying to call my mom from the office. Come pick me up. I'm not trying to ditch out of school early and run home fast, because I could run like 2 miles to the house, like run away and try to go hide in my house from them. And like the clock's going and everybody in the school knows that shit's going down. I'm super stressed out about it. I can't get out of class. I don't know what to do. So I'm trying to like hurry and go to the parking lot. Too late. Dudes are already there from the high school. All the older brothers. I was done. I mean, I was going to get fucked up. Maybe curbed. I don't know. I was not going to be pretty though. So this circle forms around me in the parking lot, and it's like about to go down. And all of a sudden we hear this, "You motherfuckers, you touch him and I'll fucking kill you." My mom is swinging a metal Louisville Slugger bat, swinging it. The crowd parts, people start running, and you got psychotic Mama Bear with a bat screaming, "I'll fucking kill you." Puts me in the car, takes me home. Now, this didn't help my chances. I still got beat up like 2 days later. But
yeah, when your mom bails you out.
Exactly. But it was a moment. That was a place that was the world. That was the world that I grew up in middle school, elementary school. It was rough.
Dang.
So we didn't have. I mean, listen. This whole topic for me is one thing. Like, how do you actually get men to do more than show up for church?
And just show up, period. Even if they're not Christians, just how do you show up?
But just how do you get men to show? So I get the salvation conversation is necessary, but most Christians I know that are saved are slaves. They're slaves. They're slaves to their sexual marriages. They're slaves to their businesses. They're slaves to their money. They're slaves. They're not saved. Not in this life. They might be saved in the afterlife, and their souls may be in a heavenly place. But in the carnal world of this earth, they're slaves. Like, I'm sitting with a dude 3 days ago, Christian guy on the surface, fit dude, super powerful, makes a bunch of money. But dude knows truth serum with me. I'm not your pastor. You can tell me everything. Because I'm going to tell you everything. That's why they tell me faster than they tell pastors. Because pastors only tell you half the story. They won't tell you their dark shit. I've sat at tables of pastors, and it goes around, and everybody gets a chance to share their weakness, and the pastor's like, I'm here to pastor you guys. I was Pastor Mark too. I was like, bro, you're a man. You can share your weakness with us. You can be Mark with us. You don't have to be pastor. I'll still take a needy as my pastor. I appreciate that. Right now, you could just be dude with us.
Yeah.
You could just be Mark so that you don't have to be in a plastic box in a prison the church puts you in too. Because it's not fair to the pastors. Pastors are in an unwinnable position. The world expects them to be perfect.
Yeah.
The church expects them to be perfect. They can't be perfect. They're dudes. They're human.
Yeah.
They get angry at their wives. They have hard times. They're stressed out. They're having to deal with the stress of so many entitled victims in church. I told the pastor, I was like, here's the difference between you and I. I can fire people. You have to keep everybody. To kick someone out of your church takes a lot.
Yeah.
But this entire process coming back, like them sitting with this guy, and I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about what's going on with your marriage. He's like, it's like heavy, dude. I'm like, okay, well, what's heavy look like? And I said, we always talk to guys across 4 categories: sex, intimacy, communication, and soul connection. I say, define what it is. Like, we have guys map it. Talk to me about your sex life. What's that look like? What do you mean? How often are you having it? What's the quality like? What's the consistency of? Tell me about your sex life. He's like, that's a rough one. I was like, okay, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, it's been like 4 years.
Oh.
The number of guys who I have had sit in my office, in my events, who are having sex less than once every 2 months. Christian guys.
Yeah, it ain't good.
They're the worst.
Yeah.
Because they're trapped in this box of desire, and yet they don't know how to even deal with it. What am I supposed to do? So inevitably that energy is going to come out somewhere. Now, I cheated on my wife.
Adultery.
I cheated on my wife. My wife and I had not, back in 2009, my wife and I had not had sex for like 5-6 months.
Wow.
And my wife was disgusted by me at the time. I was begging for hand jobs just to be touched. So I had a client of mine, and she was amazing, and she was beautiful, and she gave me attention, and she listened to me and validated me, heard me, saw me. And I had an emotional affair for 3 months. And my wife, I ended up finding this out with my wife later. I ended up connecting with this woman. And in the beginning, my wife was like super disgusted by it. It's fucking disgusting. If you talk to my wife now, she's like, yeah, it took a long time to earn trust. And I played a role in that.
Yeah.
I was sitting with a group of women. I said, hey, if your husband stops paying the bills and doesn't get a job and sits on the couch and plays video games, how y'all feel about this? That's bad. I said, cool. So when you withhold your vagina from that man for months at a time, guess what? That's rules for divorce. Any no less than him not providing. You withholding is like him not providing. Because when he signed up for one vagina, that's all he's got. He doesn't got options. He can't go hook up with 5 other women. He could, if that's what you're giving him a hall pass to do. That's not what he wants. So why are you withholding?
Yeah.
If he stops providing, you won't tolerate it, but somehow he's supposed to tolerate you withholding? How? It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. The dude's trapped. And so then they only have options, which is they shut down and pretend they don't need it and channel into business. Or they end up prone into heavy porn and masturbation. Or they're going to the strip clubs and they're going to massage parlors and they're having affairs.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I agree with what you're saying, that wives shouldn't withhold. And men, my thing is I always put and I'm sure you would agree, accountability on ourselves, right?
100% of the guy.
So it's like, what led to that situation? Why is she withholding? Like, what are you doing that is making her not want to have sex with you?
100%.
Because it doesn't just out of nowhere happen.
I mean, listen, women got to go. My wife had to go through her things. I mean, we used to, when we have sex, was like, make sure the blinds are closed, turn off the lights, get the North Face good jackets out, I've been with my wife for 23 years. I'm the only guy she's ever been with. So like she was very nervous around the sex topic. She was young. We met when she was 18, got married when she was 20. She was very nervous around it. And she was talking about it just even on our Warrior Woman webinar last night. We were talking about how she had to come to a place to make a decision for herself. But one of the reasons why she couldn't, because I wasn't safe to be fully expressed with me. Like I wasn't safe as a man with my own energy and how to contain it and how to like hold space for her and how to make sure she felt seen and make sure she felt safe and make sure she felt secure. If she doesn't feel seen, and that we found this across the board, you can be super fit as a guy, you can make money, you can be great with the kids, you can be a spiritual leader in your home. And if she does not feel seen by you, none of that matters. If she does not feel you see her for who she is as a woman now and what she does and contributes to the family, it will not matter. This woman will sexually withhold. Or she will put out of a checklist or what our girls in Warrior Woman call pincushion sex or vaginal masturbation. They'll do it. Check. Pick up the groceries. Check. Receive my husband's penis. Check. Take the kids to soccer practice. Check. This isn't even me talking. This is women in my program talking.
Yeah.
Very open and vulnerable. Now, as you can tell, the tone and tempo in my programs is no holds barred. There's no filtering truth. In our world.
No.
None. And in the beginning, it's very rough for people. And then they come into it, and then they get used to it, and they're like, wow, holy freedom, men and women. Then they go back out to regular world, and that's why they can't go back to church groups. Because like, this is plastic as shit. I was like, I told you it is. It should be a healing place for people with darkness figuring themselves out. But it's not. It's a judgmental, self-righteous place where people are not okay to share everything because if they do, they'll be judged. If they do, it triggers a shit out of other people's darkness because they've not worked through their stuff. If I have things in me that I've not processed and you start talking about those same things in you publicly, it triggers mine. Now I feel nervous. I only have two choices. Silence you or find somehow to deal with it with you. Most people aren't going to do number two. It's too scary. It's not safe. Like, there were so many times where I just needed somebody to listen to me, and all I got were scripture quotes. I was like, if you do that one more time, I swear to God, I'm going to punch you in the fucking throat. If you copy and paste one more goddamn scripture and post it on my social media feed, I swear to all that is holy, I will fucking end you. Like this, I stopped hanging out with family. I stopped dealing with my cousins. I was like, you all are idiots. I want nothing to do with you. You are superficial believers. You don't know shit. You believe shit. You have no fruit. It's like listening to an obese person tell you about fitness. Don't talk to me about it. You're the people that talked about in scripture. You're flapping your lips about Jesus and you have no Jesus in you. There's no power in your words. There's lots of talking. Lots of yippee yapping. Not a lot of truth. Not a lot of fire. Not a lot of vulnerability. A lot of plastic Christian talk happening. And that's the problem. You get used to anything. It becomes regurgitated narrative.
Yeah.
There's no soul to it. No soul. That's why Pastor Mark blew up in Orange County. He has so much soul to his words. So people would be like, me too. I was like, no, this is different. I feel this guy when he talks. I feel some kind of way in me.
So back to the original question, though, why does it happen to these people? Like, what are they doing wrong?
The guys?
Yeah.
They're not seeing their wives.
That's it. Just
They're
make your
not
wife
seeing
feel, and when you say be seen, you know, are you
Curious
talking
about
be,
who she
be
is.
loved? Like
Yeah.
how she wants to be loved?
It's not even love languages.
Okay.
Women want to be seen. Why do women post pictures of themselves on the internet? To be seen. Women dress up to be seen by men and women. Both. Men dress up to be seen by women. Or not necessarily by guys. Women, though, want to be seen. Men want to be seen, too. We found that men want three things. They want to be told they're the man. They want to be touched frequently by their wife. And they want to be fucked frequently. If they can get those three things, tell me I'm the man, touch me often, fuck me frequently. If you can do those 3 things, there's no dude that won't do whatever this woman wants. If she's like, hey, baby, you're the man. Thank you so much for what you do for our family. Thank you for providing and fighting for us. He comes home, touch on the shoulder, walk up, touch his face when he comes in the room, give him a kiss on the neck. Nothing sexual, just touch him. And then have sex with this man 2-3 times a week. Make sure that he's coming. If that happens, there's almost no guy who is not neutralized in that relationship. He will fucking kill for this woman. He will kill for her. He will do whatever she said. Take garbage, done. Cover the kids, done. Can I go meet my girlfriends? Yes. But women don't do that. Then on the flip side, though, guys don't do their part.
Do you think that guys don't have proper expectations communicated to their wife about that?
For sure.
Like, I think that maybe in a wife's mind, she's like, oh, whatever. Once a week is good. Once a month, whatever it is, right? There's just a lack of standards and KPIs.
There's a lack of KPI and communication, yes.
Yeah.
We do not know what the measurable optics are on this outcome.
Yeah.
So then there's just disappointment because most couples can't talk about sex.
Right.
Not openly, not their desires, their fantasies, their longings, they can't talk about it. It's a very uncomfortable topic for most couples. They don't. They'll talk about it with their buddies, talk about their girlfriends, but talk about it with their spouse is really tough because it opens you up. It's very vulnerable. Like if you share your fantasies, whether you're actually going to play them out or not with your spouse, and that fantasy involved a threesome or it involved whatever it was, like you're just, hey, I have these fantasies, I'm having these thoughts. Well, it triggers all kinds of stuff in the other person. And if they're not grounded in themselves, it's very difficult to have real conversations. It's just very difficult. My wife came to me in spring of last year, March 23. And we had like arrived at the top of the pinnacle of having it all. Like we did. Physically, financially, spiritually, in our relationships, at least I thought. And my wife had, for 20 years, she had shared some of her truth, but not all of her truth with me. There was a lot of pain, a lot of resentment from the affair. There was a lot of things inside of her from just over 23 years of being together that she hadn't shared.
Yeah.
So she came to me in March last year and she was flat out said, I don't feel seen. Like, not only do I not feel seen, I don't feel like you see me and have been seeing me for the last 6 months to a year. And you're so busy working and you're so busy creating, and even amidst all the time, even the date nights and the trips and the travel and the jets and the jewelry and all the things we're doing, I don't feel like you see me. And this has caused me to feel disconnected from you. It's caused my mind to wander and think about fucking other men and being with some guy who's powerful, wealthy, who can see me. And it was for the very first time that I understood Desperate Housewife. My wife's not a housewife in that way. She runs her own companies, plus she's a full-time mom. She does both. She juggles. Her businesses run themselves very well. But here's my wife having this experience with me, and I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck did I end up here? Like, for about 3 months, I thought I was going to lose my marriage. And it wasn't over cheating, and it wasn't over not going on date nights, and it wasn't out over going on vacations. It wasn't after buying her jewelry or spending time with the kids, or it wasn't about that. It was the fact that even amidst being in the house, my wife was not feeling seen by me. Now, I thought maybe this just might be something unique with my wife. Oh, no. Now I have well over 3,000 data points of women in our programs confirming exactly what she was saying. The single most important thing that a woman receives is being seen. That's why a woman can break up with her husband, have an affair with a guy, or go fuck a guy at the bar, go be with a guy sexually, even though she was withholding inside of marriage, because that guy has one thing, and it's not safety and it's not security. He has one thing. She feels seen. Most affairs occur because somebody for the very first time feels seen by the opposite sex in a way that their partner doesn't see them anymore.
How did you take hearing that?
It was rough as hell.
Yeah.
Rough as hell. Fucked me up. And I needed it.
So what did you do differently?
Well, number one, I have my tools that I use in Warrior, stacking, which is a tool for dealing with myself, my thoughts every day. And I was passionate into that for hours every single day. I knew I needed a shift. I had two issues: my reactivity, which is my anger, one. And number two, my inability to be curiously connected to my wife. So I was so wrapped up in my own business and this is what I was doing that I would come home from being on like 14-hour days and then I would tell her about the business. I was not curious about her. Like now, I'd literally shut my world off and I come home and I'm like, hey, tell me what's going on. What happened with the kids at school today? What happened with Bailey in the drop-off? What was going on with what's her name's mom? what happened over here with the realtors? Da, 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 da. And she's like, oh my God, you're never going to believe it. And I'm like, tell me more about that.
Spill the tea.
Exactly. It's spill the tea time with mama. And I wasn't doing it. She wanted to be seen. The second thing we went to therapy. So we had a therapist, amazing. He actually lives here in Vegas. But we do Zoom with him. Called him the Wizard. We did therapy. We had a triple threat. We had lunch every Monday. We had therapy for 2 hours right after. And then we did a podcast for 2 hours right after. Date Your Wife.
Oh, wow.
So we would talk through what we worked through in therapy all live on our show.
Wow.
And that kind of started moving things in a new direction and trajectory for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Shifted.
the main key is for all the men right now who are in this position, right? They're struggling. They just need to be seen. We just got to see our wives better. We got to have intention with the conversations we have, with how we spend our time with them, not just being there, but actually being present, and also communicating like standards. Like I can tell you from my experience, you know, my wife, we got married young too. I met her when she was 18 and we got married right when she turned 21. So very similar. I was 24. I don't know how old you were.
20, so I'm 7 years older than her. So I was 25 when I met her at 18.
Okay. So you got married at
She got married. We got married when she was
27.
20. I was 27. Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty similar story on that front. You know, we've been married 11 years now, 3 kids. And, you know, from the get-go, I'm thankful that we were this way young because, I mean, you know, when you're young and you get married, you don't know anything you signed up for. You're just like, we don't know.
No clue.
But we were both grounded in faith from the get-go. We both grew up in church. And so we went through, you know, pre-marriage counseling with the church, and we had to talk about these subjects. And so, you know, just talking about sex, talking about roles and responsibilities and, you know, being the head of the household and authority and submission and all of these things. And it's funny because, you know, I talk about, I just keep having relationship guys on my podcast. They're not even relationship guy, but we keep talking about relationships, right? And I always talk about the perspective from my perspective. Like I never talk about her perspective because I don't want to speak for her, right? And then, you know, you'll get a lot of these guys, they'll be like, dude, Ryan's a simp, you know, like he's saying serve his wife and do all this stuff. Like she needs to be submissive, she needs to put out, she needs to do this and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, number one, who says she isn't submissive? Who says I'm not the leader? I don't need to say those things. They just are because of the actions and the communication, everything we have. All I care about for me is my actions and what I control. So all I can control is if I see my wife, if I serve my wife, if I'm a good provider, if I take care of myself, if I'm a good dad. Like I'm worried about me. And I know if I do me, more than likely, I'm going to get the result I'm looking for out of her too. Especially if we're aligned and we have, you know, standards and goals and all of those things. But if I'm not taking care of me, it's like, then that's when the problems are going to start. You know, if I'm not serving her, if I'm not seeing her, and now I'm wondering why we're not having sex. Like I got to like probably look no further. Or if I'm not like constantly serving her, thinking about, hey, what's going on with her? Like she's off. Like why? And it may not have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
It may be everything to do with something she's got going on with a friend or at home or some bad. And it's like, now I got to go into even more support mode of like, hey, like what's going on?
Yeah.
And not let it go down this path.
Yeah. Well, all that piece, I mean, service is not an issue. It's beautiful. And part of serving is being curious about her.
Yeah.
The greatest service you can offer your wife is to care about her life. She's a human. Care about her like you would a client.
Yeah.
Like a high paid client, you're going to care about their world. So why are you not caring about your wife? The rest of the stuff, like all the rest of it, like physicality, taking care of yourself, grooming yourself, being able to make money, provide financially for the family, all those things are like important. Showing up as a parent, being with the kids, like participating, but also doing all this for a desire because you love her, not because you're trying to get laid. So a lot of guys would do stuff like this, but it's all with conditions. I'm going to clean the kitchen because you're going to give me a blowjob.
Yeah.
You're like, well, no, I'm not. I'm not giving you a blowjob to clean the kitchen. You should want to clean the kitchen. I was like, you should want to give me a blowjob. I was like, you should want to. And I was like, they go back and forth on this as well. So getting guys to a place where they can actually be in power with this idea that at some point in the relationship, you loved this woman as a person. It wasn't just a vagina. It wasn't just sex. You had fun with this person. You cared about this person. You had fun and enjoyed life with this person. And if you can get back to that, amazingly enough, women are fairly simple to open up when they feel seen. That's why you can have super average guys dating very beautiful women.
Speaking of that, I mean, we're talking about the married guys a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think about the single guys and what's going on?
Dude, it's a giant fuck fest, man. Everybody's just fucking everybody. It's wild. What I feel about it, I think there's a desensitization that's happening, and it's our teenagers are in the worst of it. Everything, sex has become like. I was talking to these girls, my daughter's age, and we were talking about like what was too far, and in their mind, kissing was more intimate than giving a blowjob. So they were okay with giving blowjobs at parties, but they definitely weren't making out with guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, excuse me? Like, yeah, it's just like a blowjob. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Are things like weird, way different than when I was a kid.
Wow.
Just so different. So, and then you look at the single game. I understand why the incentive is not to get married either. So watch the challenging game that happens, right? So a guy shows up in his masculine, meets a girl, they hook up, they decide to get married, and then he goes into service mode. The problem with service mode tends to kill alpha mode. Alpha mode is what draws attraction from the wife. Game doesn't end outside of marriage. It also must continue in marriage. If it doesn't, polarity does. At some level, women want their man to be strong enough to be a man, and at the same time, allowing her the safety and comfort to be able to sit into that with her. But it's tough for guys because we get married, particularly if you care about your woman and you want to try to put her first all the time.
Yeah.
How do I serve you and put you first? But this actually becomes a turnoff. It might be great for partnership and friendship. It's not great for sex. It's not great for intimacy because there's no game anymore. And the polarity is the game. Now, and it doesn't mean you're not going to have good, nice, average sex every week. You could. There's a lot of great women who are like, my man needs sex. I'm going to give it to him. It's going to be great. We had a couple of these girls on our webinar last night. They're like, I had sex for 17 years, never had an orgasm. But my husband was getting laid 2-3 times a week, every week, because I knew that he needed it. I just didn't know that I wanted it too. I was like, yeah, I know, I get it. You should. So there's a piece in this too where guys have lost their power in the home because they become so neutered and so domesticated. So their wives are cheating.
Wow.
Or shutting off. Or not turned on by their husbands anymore. And their husbands can be fit and rich. They turned off. Why? Because there's not the polarity game that exists when you're dating goes away when people are married, unless, of course, you keep it going.
Yeah.
You
It
keep
only
it going.
gets harder with kids.
Way harder, dude.
Yeah.
You got all the cock blockers. Like, yeah, it's like a giant football team, professional. That's
They're all
like
just blocking.
blocking, dude. Just pro blockers, just blocking everywhere they can. Yeah. I got toddlers. I got 2 toddlers, 2 teenagers, and my 25-year-old son who's engaged, and we believe that I'll be a grandpa. So that'll be exciting.
Wow.
We will confirm here in the next week. But
Wow. That's exciting.
yeah, grandpa time. 48.
Wow. So, you know what's crazy though is, I hear these single men come in here and they're like, dude, nobody can get a wife. Nobody, like, the top 10% get all the girls and everyone else literally doesn't get anybody. That's what they say. They say that that's the dating scene now.
The top 10% of guys?
Yeah.
Or girls?
The top 10% of guys get whoever they want. Same thing with girls, top 10%. And then the rest, basically let's just say the bottom 50% of guys don't get anyone.
This is actually true.
Okay.
And there's also a bigger gap that's happening too. What's happening, we watch happen in Orange County, right? So all the guys in their 20s and in their early 30s are like in this lost state. Not all of them, a lot of them. 60, 70% are lost. Here's why. All the women their age are dating men that are in their 40s and 50s. Who are they going to date? You see them out on dates with little cougars occasionally with like, hottie mamas that are like in their 40s, 45, 50, dating 28, 30-year-old guys. There's the women in their group are now attracted to wiser, richer men who are established. So these guys are in this interesting dating scene. So then what it becomes Tinder bundle fuck around. They say, well, I guess we're just going to have sex a lot then. Or they just aren't doing anything. That was my son's paranoia until he found his fiance. But he kind of, he didn't look out. He just timed it well. But it's a problem. It's a problem. We don't have a ton of guys like that in Warrior because our groups tend to be a little more mature, a little older. But we see that what's happening with that group inside of some of our programs too. It's a very confusing group. That's why a lot of them are like just hustling down and they're not getting married.
Yeah.
They're not getting married at all. And I don't see them getting married for a long time, if at all. They're not having kids. I don't even know what's going to happen statistically to society over the next 10 years because of what's coming. They're not getting married. They're not having children. And a large rising percentage now are gay, which means we're not having children. There's no babies. No babies coming. I'd have that explanation with my 5-year-old.
Yeah,
I'd have the sex talk with my
you
5-year-old.
you having six kids.
Yeah,
is definitely rare.
Yeah, I had. Oh, dude, we're like completely rare. I've had the sex talk with my 5-year-old because of how exposed she is because of her older siblings.
Whoa,
because of cell phones and movies and technology, etc. Like our kids are being exposed to porn at a level they've never been exposed before. And inside of that, their expectations for it are going up, and their confusion is going up. They know the current system and the way that life works. Education's a joke. School system doesn't work. It's a babysitting clinic.
Do your kids go to school or you homeschool?
We did both. Yeah, we've homeschooled. We homeschooled for one of my kids was like completely done. 2 of them. And then we homeschooled the last 2.5, 3 years. And then they wanted to go back into school. So my daughter actually went to public school. My 8th grader, she wanted to. And we were like, okay. It's great. You want to go into 8th grade into middle school? Okay. Here we go. She's like, it's wild, Dad. I was like, why? People are getting in fights. There's like people beating each other up. Girls are fighting. There's like people taking drugs. And I was like, sounds like middle school. It sounds like my school. Like, not quite. She's in Dana Hills.
Yeah.
Or Dana Point. Not exactly a rough place.
Yeah, she's not in Stockton.
No. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a single guy dating. I know it'd be, I watch what happens to my guys that get divorced or in their 40s and 50s. That is insanity.
Why?
It's just insanity. The number of desperate women for a man is so high. Like a high caliber guy. These guys, the minute they get divorced, have a waiting list of women who will sleep with them, do whatever they want, be with them, spend time with them. Like it's wild. Like it's not kind of a little bit. It happens with every single one of my guys who gets divorced. They divorced, and there's a dating pool that is massive, and the gap for these guys is women and girls in their 20s to girls in their 40s. 3 decades of women, and they can pick them up on apps in like 2 seconds. So I have entrepreneurs who've gotten divorced who have teams that manage their apps.
They got sales team.
They do. I'm not joking. They have applications. They have
got a
setters.
VSL.
I'm not kidding, dude. They set these girls for dates, and they just show up to dates.
Oh man.
And they have a different date like every day.
That's crazy. That's a lot of work, man.
Not for them. They hired teams out. They're good at systems and process.
Still, are you going to go on a date every day?
Yeah. So somebody, when they've been in marriages that have been as rough as they've been in for decades, yes.
Yeah.
They're kind of hungry to connect with women. A couple of our guys were in relationships with wives that were cheating on them for 15 years. And they just stayed. They don't know how to get out.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the entire space right now is, there's not a deficit of men who need help, and there's not a deficit of women that need help. There's a deficit of people willing to lead, honestly, and help, to great gathering places for men to come to be honest. Women got tons of them. Men do not. Most men hide. You just sit on the side and hope things work out until they find a place like Wake Up Warrior. And then when they find a place like Wake Up Warrior for the very first time in life, they realize they're not weird, they're not broken, they're not alone.
Everyone else is in the same spot.
Everyone's just like they are. But they've lived in this narrative that they're not.
So how do you fix these guys? What do you guys do in Wake Up Warrior?
Everything starts with the truth. I go with the first part of the process is get you to the truth. What is true? What are the facts about your life? What are the facts about your situation?
The objective truth.
Just what are the facts? Where are we at?
Yeah.
Like, where are we at across body, being, balance, and business? Where are you at in your body right now? Where are you at in being in a relationship with God? Where are you at in balance with your wife, your kids? Where are you at in business? What's going on? What are the truths? Let's put them up on the wall. Let's put them into the system, and let's see what the truth is. Okay? What are the stories that you're telling yourself that have made that possible? What did you do? What was your focus that produced that fruit? What are your feelings about that? And now that we established where you are, what is the freedom that you want to pursue? What do you want it to look like? Say I'm had sex with your wife in 4 months. Okay, cool. What do you want it to look like? Well, I want to be sexually connected to her at least 4 or 5 times a week. Okay, cool. Here's where we want to go. This is freedom.
Yeah.
Right? So there's this contrast that has to be created in order for a guy to see it. And there's a huge breakthrough in that. Massive breakthrough.
The gap.
And it's establishing truth of where they are. Most guys don't have a bearing of where they are. They don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
They don't know where they are. So they're trying to create these things they say they want, but they can't because they're lying about where they are, which is like rough. Yeah. So we start there. Everything starts with truth. And we use a specific process called fact mapping inside of our Warrior app software. And that fact mapping process and dealing with their truth creates a massive awakening for them. And then inside of that, we begin to put together the tools for teaching them how to deal with thoughts, how to deal with their personal power every single day using Core 4, personal thoughts using a tool called stacking, their personal production every day using a tool called the door. And then all this lines up and is played inside of a game right here on a cell phone. And Warrior app with their teams or with themselves, with me, with the rest of the guys in their group. Yeah, it works well.
So you've gamified becoming a better person.
Yep.
Becoming a better man.
Yep. And every year the guy's hunting down a new level of impossibility. So just like you were talking about 3 years from now, we will look back at ourselves now and think, dude, we were kind of fucking missing the mark on like half the shit we thought.
Yeah.
Same deal, only we're doing 12 months at a time, which every guy's pushing to create this new impossible game for themselves. So right now we're coming into the fourth quarter time, we're recording the show. The guys are coming into the final stretch on their impossible game maps for the year, and then we'll recalibrate at the end of the year and reset new targets for 2025. Here's the impossible game that I'm moving to, and why is that impossible? Because to get there, I can't get there being who I am right now. Who I am is not enough to pull that off.
What do you think you need to change?
For myself?
Yeah. To get to where that impossible target is?
This that we're doing right now? I've been a hermit. I run traffic. I run my own events. I don't fuck with anybody else's events.
Yeah.
I come to FHL every year and speak for the last 10 years. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't go out on people's podcasts. I don't go speak at people's events. I don't go out and network. I don't hang out. The reason I'm here in Vegas this whole week is I'm trying something new, which is like, come hang out with all the speakers and entrepreneurs that are here and see what happens. Because I don't do that. Normally I fly in, I have my speech, I do my time, I fucking hit a jet on the way out.
Yeah.
See you later, kiss a baby, high five a few people, and I'll see you later.
Yeah.
So this week I was like, hey, I'm going to come out. I'm going to do around a show.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to be social. I'm gonna come to the show. I'm gonna miss Bible study because I forgot my wallet. I'm gonna go like mic check today, and then I got hangout time with some other guys this afternoon, and then I'm going out with a bunch of my traffic buddies like tonight about traffic to our offers. But also here was their order. They said we're gonna go to dinner, then we're gonna talk deals, and then we're gonna corrupt you. And I was like, done. I like that sequence. Let's roll. So
how are they going to corrupt you?
I know. How are they going to corrupt you? You're already pretty corrupted.
Yeah, what are they going to do?
Pretty corruptible. Because I told them I don't gamble. I was like, I don't gamble. I don't get it. I said, I'm a perfect wingman for you to lose a lot of money tonight. I'll hype you up, bro. I might not be a leader on the craps board, but I am a cheerleader.
Yeah, go throw that dice.
Exactly. I'll like whistle, holler. I'll bring hot girls over to cheer you on, whatever. But I don't gamble. That was what they were talking about. Because they love gamble. No, but they stay up all night. These guys stay up and gamble till like 6 a.m.
These are all digital marketing guys?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But they love to gamble. I don't understand it. Do you gamble?
No. Not
I don't
anymore.
get it.
I did when I was young because it was
you?
the only way I thought I could make money. I played poker and
Yeah.
craps.
Were
and
you
all that.
good?
Yeah.
You were?
Yeah. I won a couple of tournaments. Yeah. That was another life.
Like good, like card counting good?
Yeah, I know how to count cards too.
Really? I don't understand that. I don't
Yeah.
think I have a good enough math mind to pull that shit off. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a poker face. You're going to know exactly what my cards are. I'm like, what? Not good ones. Not good.
All in.
All in. Yeah. So I don't,
Do you have any hobbies?
I have bodybuilding
Okay.
and I used to surf a lot.
Okay.
Surfing was like my thing before bodybuilding.
Like, do you guys have and where like anything is like, hey, this is your outlet, this is your thing?
Yeah.
Or because it seems like to me most of the things you like to work on or the four core things of you're like, hey, I want to do things that make my relationships better, my body better, my faith better, my business better. And it's like you stick to those things. That's like what you just naturally enjoy doing.
So we'll push, everything is about pushing these 4 domains forward. So like this year, my impossible game was my ultimate impossible game is to be 250 pounds, 8% body fat. Right now I'm at 225, 227, around 8% body fat. I came up from 190. I was 190 pounds 18 months ago.
Wow.
So
It's a lot of muscle.
it is. We're going, right? So like that was the game. I was like, impossible game is to become 235 by the end of this year. And like part of that is like doing things like squatting 405 8 times, perfect depth, etc. I'm not quite there, but I'm close. Today, this morning at 385,
There we go.
8 times at the end of my workout. But
What's the bench goal?
I don't really have a bench goal right now. I haven't set one.
Oh.
Yeah, the bench is, we do a ton of upper
Well,
bicep.
all your weight's going to be in your legs. Like a lot of it.
Yeah.
For what your goal is.
It is. It is. Yeah, I got booty now. I didn't used to have booty. My pants just fall right off me.
Nice.
So body was like an example there. Then being was to launch Warriors for Christ.
You did that.
And to launch what I thought was a book I was going to write called Kingdom Box. But I realized I misinterpreted what that was going to be, and that was the arrival of the Business Bible and our partnership with Business Bible. So that was part of it, is getting that launched by Christmas, which is the Warrior Business Bible. So that's happening. And then balance was taking my wife on 4 trips this year out of the country for balance, as well as therapy every single week, a podcast every week with her on our DHY podcast. And that was kind of the game that I was creating in her world. And we've done it. Went to Dubai, Paris, Greece, and then the end of this year, it depends, because we're selling our house and we may be in Miami at that time. So if
You're moving to Miami?
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, we're
No
out here.
taxes.
Just heading to Miami. Business is getting a place too, a bit helpful. If that's the case.
What's like brought this decision?
We love Miami.
Oh.
I just really love it. Every time I go there, I love it. Every time my wife's there, sure, it's like this inner Latina comes out. She like becomes like super. The way I describe it is
Out
like,
there speaking Spanish.
yeah. I mean, I'm fluent in Spanish, so
Okay.
I can hang with no problem. Like I love it. All the Cubans down there, Dominicans, like it's awesome. So for me, like I love it. She loves it. We feel actually more at home in Miami than we do in Orange County.
Wow.
I feel like I proved everything I need to prove in Orange County. I'm not the biggest guy in Orange County for sure,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like there's really anything more to prove. I live in a $28 million house. I have every supercar I want. I have an amazing sex life. I have an amazing wife, a beautiful wife. I have 5 amazing children. I have a grandbaby on the way. I have amazing company, amazing teams, run 3 different brands. I have thousands of amazing clients. I have built the world that I wanted. People travel and fly to me. I don't fly and travel to them. Like it's not what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of at this point, it's like we were sitting there like 6 weeks ago at dinner at this place called Coastal Kitchen. I was like, let's sell the house and move to Miami.
Oh.
I was like, done.
She said that or you said that?
She said that.
She said that.
And I said, done.
Wow.
It's great. She's very intuitive. We feel like God's calling us there to like the message of Warrior and what I'm going to do is going to get bigger. And there's just more, I feel like in Miami, the number of people I know in Miami that I could run with is a lot higher than the people I know in Orange County. Orange County's got great people. Orange County's super white too. Super white. And this was funny because I'm a pretty white Viking-y,
Yeah.
pink face guy.
Yeah.
But I actually like running with just tons of diversity.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy.
You think changing up your surroundings is going to be key to
Yeah.
this next level for you? And
For my marriage, yeah. I think my marriage is ready to experience this next soul level connection that we really want. And I feel like Miami is a great place for us to find that. So for us, it's like we're not attached. Even though I thought the house we moved into was going to be a house we keep forever.
Yeah.
Like we thought it was a forever house. Like we're going to be here. But
Yeah.
we made it 4 years there.
Wow.
I mean, we still have to sell it. So we'll see.
Get the money.
Yeah. The buying market is in that level is very different.
Oh yeah. It's going to probably take a minute.
Selling Sunsets is going to represent it.
Are they?
Yeah. With my current realtor. I have a call with them here in just a little bit. Because they have a buyer market internationally that just collects houses like people collect watches.
Wow.
They will buy them sight unseen.
Crazy.
Just
20 mil. I'll
20
take
mil,
it.
30 mil. Might as well just put it in the portfolio. Let's go.
Yeah.
We're going to go see it.
We might
Probably
see
not.
it once a year.
Yeah.
That's
it.
crazy.
They just collect houses.
Wow.
And I was hearing that. I was like, that makes sense. Levels.
Yeah.
Super yacht people.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
How old are you?
35.
35, dude. So crazy. I have 13 years of life on you. I have a son who's 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 years older than my son. In a weird life, I could be your dad. Actually, how old would I have to be?
No, you did.
I'd have to be 13. I could have had you at 13.
In Stockton, for sure.
I could have had you at 13 for sure. I was shooting live fire at 13. How wild would that be?
I love it.
And like your mom's like super Latina, and I'm like hooking up with her in Stockton, and here you are, bro.
Here
You're
you
son,
are.
You're my son. You're my son at 35.
And I'm here.
And here we are. So I'm proud of you. Look at what you've done. I'm proud of you. I
built a
abandoned
nice
you for
business.
35
Good
years, and look what you pulled off.
I wasn't around, but here I am.
But I'm here now on your show.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. So what is it? What do you see as like the end like vision for this show? Like what are you wanting? What are you wanting all these podcasts that you're doing here to like line up and do for you? Like just create for the world or for yourself?
Dude, to be honest, I just enjoy them. So first and foremost, like if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. Obviously it helps business and everything else. So there's that. But I mean, you said end goal. I don't have an end goal with it. Like if God called me to stop making content and I felt like that was the thing, I would. You know, if he told me to stop being in real estate, I would. If he told me to whatever, I would. But I kind of live on I don't even want to say a year-to-year basis. I really live like on a quarter-to-quarter, day-to-day basis where I'm like, hey, I'm willing to be flexible and move however God leads me. And that's just how I've always lived.
Yeah.
And I've had lots of, careers throughout my life. I played pro baseball for 8 years, and then, I flipped houses for all these years. Then I got into media and content. I somehow ended up in the education world. And then, now I'm in the ministry world, and who knows where God takes me. My wife and I joke because she's now getting into golf with me. And, I got into golf 3 years ago, and like, I love the game. I'm like, dude, in another life, I could have been a pro golfer, Wish I would have dedicated all that baseball time to golf.
Yeah.
And
Are you good?
yeah. And now it was funny. I was just like dreaming big, impossible goals. And I was like, what if, like the PGA Tour, it's too late for that. I was like, but they have the senior tour when you turn 50. I was like, if you give me 15 years to train for the senior tour, like, could I do that? And then in my mind, as we think, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
But, who
That's
knows?
a lot of time on a golf course.
I know.
To make the senior tour, and I'd have like 15,000 hours on the golf course.
Oh
maybe
yeah, and I
more.
understand what it takes to be a pro and how much work you
Yeah.
got to put into it. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna look like Garrett J White,
Yes.
when I'm 50.
Yes.
And I'll be hitting bombs, and who knows?
I had a couple baseball players that work for me. The guys that played pro a little bit, like a year or two, and they're bigger guys.
Yeah.
Like they're playing, like they play softball, Jose Canseco, and like they've hit balls and they go hit balls, and they play golf with Barry Bonds, and they'll be in these softball beer leagues with them. And so I hit that out of the park like crazy. But these dudes, like when they play golf, like there's a good transfer.
Oh yeah.
Like they can crush off the tee.
Oh yeah.
Like crush off the tee.
Yeah.
I'm like blown away at how far they can drive the ball.
Yeah.
They can't do anything else, but they can
No, they
definitely
can't chip
drive
or putt or
No.
hit approach shots, but dude, they can catch one.
Are you getting good enough to actually be like competitive?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm scratch.
Really?
Yeah. So I
Oh, wow.
I play for fun. And for
You're a
money.
scratch golfer in 3 years.
Yeah.
That's not for fun, bro. That's like pro status. That's
No,
like
it's
heading in the
definitely
right
not
direction.
pro status,
That's like
but-
heading in the direction of pro status.
Of being a senior pro. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's the target.
Yeah.
You're gonna have all gray hair.
Yep.
You'll have like a white hair top.
And I'm going to just wear a visor so you see
Yeah,
it.
just the white, and people think that
And then
you
I'll
have the
dye it.
hat with the
I'll still
attached.
probably dye it.
You'll dye it
And not
red.
grow up.
Every tournament will be a different color.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Golf has been a game that I have. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I love playing it.
Yeah.
I'm not great at it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a scratch golfer.
But you like playing with cool dudes.
Yeah, I
Drinking
play
some whiskey,
Yeah, I
smoking
have
some
fun.
cigars.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
And
what
I'll
I
get-
like about golf. It's a relational activity, you know?
yeah. I'm
That's
good
the
enough
fun
to
part.
compete on a few holes every time we play.
You can contribute in a scramble.
Yeah, exactly. In a scramble, I'm a good team member.
Yeah.
Because I got enough good shots in me that we can get something.
And you'll be a good time.
Yeah,
More
and I'm a
importantly.
great time. Yeah, great time. Better than the beer cart girl.
Yeah, for sure. Well, bro, I know you got to get out of here, so I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you having
Appreciate
me.
you coming on and getting out of your comfort zone and doing
Yes,
this.
this
and
is new.
the new level. So
Yeah.
means a lot.
I
We'll link
appreciate
to Warrior and everything you got going on down below so anyone can join. And guys, make sure you subscribe and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.